Photograph a historic site, help Wikipedia, and win a prize. Participate in the world's largest photography competition this month. Learn more. Narrative paradigm. 4 languages. Narrative paradigm is a communication theory conceptualized by 20th century communication scholar Walter Fisher. The paradigm claims that all meaningful communication occurs via storytelling or reporting of events. 1. Humans participate as storytellers and observers of narratives. This theory further claims that stories are more persuasive than arguments. 2. 3. Essentially, the narrative paradigm helps us to explain how humans are able to understand complex information through narrative. 1. Background, edit. The narrative paradigm is a theory that suggests that human beings are natural storytellers and that a good story is more convincing than a good argument. Walter Fisher developed this theory as a solution making cohesive arguments. Fisher conceptualized the paradigm as a way to combat issues in the public sphere. 4. The problem was that human beings were unable to make cohesive traditional arguments. At the time, the rational world paradigm was the theory used to satisfy public controversies. He believed that stories have the power to include a beginning, middle, and end of an argument, and that the rational world paradigm fails to be effective in sense-making. 5. Fisher uses the term paradigm rather than theory, meaning a paradigm is broader than a theory. Fisher stated, "There is no genre, including technical communication, that is not an episode in the story of life." 6. For this reason, Fisher thought narration to be the ultimate metaphor to encompass the human experience. 7. Fisher believed that humans are not rational and proposed that the narrative is the basis of communication. Fisher notes that reasoning is achieved through all sorts of symbolic action. 7. According to this viewpoint, people communicate by telling/observing a compelling story rather than by producing evidence or constructing a logical argument. The narrative paradigm is purportedly all-encompassing, allowing all communication to be looked at as a narrative even though it may not conform to the traditional literary requirements of a narrative. He states, "Humans see the world as a set of stories. Each accepts stories that match his or her values and beliefs, understood as common sense." 8. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Although people claim that their decisions are rational. 8. Incorporating history, culture, and perceptions about the other people involved, all of these are subjective and incompletely understood. Narrative rationality requires stories to be probable, coherent, and to exhibit fidelity. 9. Storytelling is one of the first language skills that children develop. It is universal across cultures and time. 10. Rational world paradigm, edit. Walter Fisher conceptualized the narrative paradigm in direct contrast to the rational world paradigm. Fisher's interest in narrative developed out of his conclusion that the dominant model for explaining human communication, the rational world paradigm, was inadequate. 5. Rational world paradigm suggests that an argument is most persuasive when it is logical. This theory is based on the teachings of Plato and Aristotle. 11. 1, 12. Comparison. Narrative paradigm, rational world paradigm. 1. Humans are storytellers. 1. Humans are rational. 2. Decision-making and communication are based on good reasons. 2. Decision-making is based on arguments. 3. Good reasons are determined by matters of history, biography, culture and character. 3. Arguments adhere to specific criteria for soundness and logic. 4. Rationality is based in people's awareness of internal consistency and resemblance to lived experience. 4. Rationality is based on the quality of evidence and formal reasoning processes. 5. We experience a world that is filled with stories, and we must choose among them. 5. The world can be understood as a series of logical relationships that are uncovered through reasoning. According to Aristotle, some statements are superior to others by virtue of their relationship to true knowledge. This view claims that people are essentially thinking beings, basing their knowledge on evidence-based reasoning. Rational argument reflects knowledge and understanding, and how the case is made. These qualities determine whether the argument is accepted, so long as the form matches the forum, which might be scientific, legal, philosophical, etc. The world is a set of logical puzzles that can be solved through reason. 13. Narrative rationality, edit. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Narrative rationality requires coherence and fidelity, which contribute to judgments about reasons. 14. Coherence, edit. Narrative coherence is the degree to which a story makes sense. Coherent stories are internally consistent, with sufficient detail, strong characters, and free of significant surprises. The ability to assess coherence is learned and improves with experience. Individuals assess a story's adherence by comparing it with similar stories. The ultimate test of narrative sense is whether the characters act reliably. If figures show continuity throughout their thoughts, motives, and actions, acceptance increases. However, characters behaving uncharacteristically destroy acceptance. 15. Fidelity, edit. Narrative fidelity is the degree to which a story fits into the observer's experience with other accounts. How the experience of a story rings true with past stories they know to be true in their lives. Stories with fidelity may influence their beliefs and values. Fisher set 5 criteria that affect a story's narrative fidelity. The first of the requirements are the values which are embedded in the story. The second of the elements is the connection between the story and the espoused value. The third of the criteria is the possible outcomes that would accrue to people adhering to the espoused values. The last 2 are firstly the consistency of the narrative's values with the observer's values, and lastly the extent to which the story's values represent the highest values possible in human experience. 16. Evaluation of reasoning systems, edit. Fisher's narrative paradigm offers an alternative to Aristotelian analysis, which dominates the field of rhetorical thinking. Narratives do not require training or expertise to evaluate. Common sense assesses narrative coherence and fidelity. 17. Bussell and Bilanzik distinguish narrative rationality from realism, writing, "It is remarkable that the power of narrative is not diminished by readers' or viewers' knowledge that the story is invented. On the contrary, successful stories, those that engage us most, often are both fictional and unrealistic." 18. Alternatively, Foucault claimed that communications systems formed through the savoir and pouvoir, knowledge and power, of the hierarchies that control access to the discourses. Hence, criteria for assessing the reliability and completeness of evidence, and whether the pattern of reasoning is sound are not absolutes but defined over time by those in positions of authority. This is particularly significant when the process of thinking includes values and policy in addition to empirical data. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. The narrative paradigm instead asserts that any individual can judge a story's merits as a basis for belief and action. 4. Narration affects every aspect of each individual's life in verbal and nonverbal bids for someone to believe or act in a certain way. Even when a message appears abstract, i.e., the language is literal and not figurative, it is narration. This is because it is embedded in the storyteller's ongoing story, and it invites observers to assess its value for their own lives. Narrative rationality and narrative emotion are complementary within a narrative theory. The former considers how effectively the story conveys its meaning, as well as its implications. The latter considers the emotional reactions of the story's observers. 19. Narrative emotion is an emotion felt for the sake of someone, or something, else. 19. Applications, edit. Narrative theory is an assessment framework within various fields of communication. Those who use narrative theory within their research refer to it as a general way of viewing communication. 12. The narrative paradigm is generally considered an interpretative theory of communication. 20. It is an especially useful theory for teaching qualitative research methods. 21. Fisher's theory has been considered for domains ranging from organizational communication to family interaction, to racism, and to advertising. McNamara proposed that the narrative paradigm can be used with military storytelling to enhance the perception of the United States Armed Services. 22. Stutz and Barker, of Virginia Commonwealth University, proposed that the narrative paradigm can be used to evaluate if a company's brand will be well received by consumers, by determining if the created narrative has coherence and fidelity. 23. Other researchers proposed using the narrative paradigm to evaluate ethical standards in advertising. 24. Roberts used the narrative paradigm as a way to better understand the use of narrative in folklore. 25. Hobart proposed using narrative theory as a way to interpret urban legends and other kinds of hoaxes. 26. A study tested the effects of narrative suggestions on paranormal belief. Recall that Fisher's paradigm posits that a good story is more convincing than a good argument. This was put to the test by examining the combined effects of source credibility, narrative, and message modality based on Fisher's idea of narrative rationality. Participants were presented a fabricated news story about strange noises being heard in a nearby science lab. One set of the narratives included an explanation of natural causes for the noise. Another set were explained using a paranormal verbiage in the explanation. Additionally, the main character of the story was either presented as a child witness, a university student, or a scientist with the hypothesis that a possible disparagement in credibility could be a factor. This variation was subsequently utilized to determine if source credibility would affect the narrative suggestion. The study found that the belief in the paranormal narrative was positively correlated when narrative coherence and narrative fidelity, narrative. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Rationality were strong, regardless of message modality. It was also determined that source credibility had a statistically significant impact on the outcome of belief in the paranormal narrative. 27. Narrative paradigm is also applicable when assessing multinational working relationships. Global interactions between groups with different backgrounds have the tendency to hinder group progress and building relationships. Over the past 2 decades, scholars conceptualize diversity in the workplace using several different theories. As companies continue to diversify, businesses look for communication models to help manage the complex structure of human relationships. Narrative paradigm serves as a communication technique that shows companies how the application of a good story could provide benefits in the workforce. Storytelling is a cross-cultural solution that establishes credibility and trust in relationships between workers. 28. Narrative and Politics, edit. Smith in 1984 conducted one example of a study that used narrative theory more directly. Smith looked at the fidelity and coherence of narratives presented as Republican and Democratic Party platforms in the United States and found that despite apparent differences, each party was able to maintain integrity and fidelity by remaining consistent in both structure and overarching party values. 29. Narrative and Health Communication, edit. A study claimed that narrative features could be strategically altered by health communicators to affect the reader's identification. It found that similarities between the reader and the narrative's protagonist, but not the narrator's point of view, has a direct impact on the narrative's persuasiveness. 30. Narrative and Branding, edit. Narrative processing can create or enhance connections between a brand and an audience. 31. Companies and business use stories or brands that suggest a story to produce brand loyalty. Businesses invest heavily in creating a good story through advertising and public relations. 32. In brand development, many marketers focus on defining a brand persona, typical user, before constructing a narrative for that brand. Character traits such as honesty, curiosity, flexibility and determination become embedded in the persona. Commitment to the associated behavioral implications can help the brand maintain consistency with its narrative. 33. Narrative and Law, edit. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. A growing number of legal scholars contend that narrative persuades in law. 34. In one study, judges tended to prefer legal briefs taking a storytelling approach to those that do not. 35. In response, legal scholars have applied narrative techniques to legal persuasion and even legal communication. 36, 37, 38. Scholars in this area commonly refer to this application as applied legal storytelling. 34. Legal storytelling in courtrooms requires a formalization of the narratives presented. This is achieved through the use of first and third-party perspectives of a narrative to mitigate impartial reporting of the story. 39. Criticism, edit. Critics of the narrative paradigm mainly contend that it is not as universally applicable as Fisher suggests. For example, Rowland asserted that it should be applied strictly to communication that fits classic narrative patterns to avoid undermining its credibility. 40. Other critiques include issues of conservative bias. Kirkwood stated that Fisher's logic of good reasons focuses only on prevailing issues, 41, but does not see all the ways that stories can promote social change. 9. In some ways, both Kirkwood and Fisher agree that this observation is more of an extension to the theory than a critique. Stroud considered multivalent narratives that include seemingly contradictory values or positions that force a reader to reconstruct their meaning, thereby enabling positive judgments of narrative fidelity and the adoption of new values. 42. Some forms of communication are not narrative in the way that Fisher maintains. Many science fiction and fantasy novels / movies challenge rather than conform to common values. 9. The narrative approach does not provide a more democratic structure compared to the one imposed by the rational world paradigm. Nor does it offer a complete alternative to that paradigm. 43. The narrative paradigm gained attention from post-structuralist education theorists for appealing to notions of truth. 44. Related theories, edit. Rhetoric theory, edit. The narrative paradigm incorporates both the pathos and logos form of rhetoric theory. Rhetoric theory was formulated by Aristotle. 45. He defines rhetoric as the available means of persuasion. 9. It includes two assumptions. Firstly, that effective public speakers must consider their audience. Secondly, that effective public speakers supply proofs. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Aristotle divided public speaking into three parts: the speaker, the subject and the audience. He considered the audience the most important, determining the speech send and object. Therefore, audience analysis, which is the process of evaluating an audience and its background, is essential. In the second assumption, Aristotle's proof refers to the means of persuasion. And these three proof types are ethos, pathos, and logos. Ethos, the perceived character, intelligence and goodwill of a speaker as they become revealed through his or her speech. Logos, the logic proof that speakers employ. Pathos, the emotions that are drawn out of listeners. There are three modes of ethos: phronesis, practical wisdom; art, moral character; eunoia, goodwill. Situation models, edit. When people experience a story, the comprehension phase is where they form a mental representation of the text. Such a mental image is called a situation model. Situation models are representations of the state of affairs described in a document rather than of the text itself. Much of the research suggests that observers behave as though they are in the story rather than outside of it. This supports Fisher's model that narrative components backed by good reasons are related to elements in situation models. Space, edit. Situation models represent relevant aspects of the narrative's environment. Objects that are spatially close to observers are generally more relevant than more distant objects. The same holds for situation models. Observers are similarly slower to recognize words denoting objects distant from a protagonist than those close to the protagonist. 46. when observers have extensive knowledge of the spatial layout of the story setting, for example, a building, they update their representations according to the location and goals of the protagonist. They have the fastest mental access to the room that the protagonist is close to. For example, they can more readily say whether two objects are in the same room if the room mentioned is close to the protagonist. The interpretation of the meaning of a verb denoting the movement of people or objects in space, such as to approach, depends on their situation models. The interpretation of observers also depends on the size of the landmark and the speed of the figure. Observers behave as if they are actually present in the situation. 47. Goals and causation, edit. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. In one study, observers recognized goals yet to be accomplished by the protagonist more quickly than goals that had just been accomplished. When Keefe and McDaniel presented subjects with sentences such as "After standing through a 3-hour debate, the tired speaker walked over to his chair and sat down," and then with probed words, for example, "sat." 48. Subjects took about the same amount of time to name "sat" when the clause about the speaker sitting down was omitted and when it was included. Moreover, naming times were significantly faster in both of these conditions than in a control condition, in which it was implied that the speaker remained standing. 49. References, edit. 1. ABC International Journal of Education and the Arts. The Power of Storytelling, How Oral Narrative Influences Children's Relationships in Classrooms. 2. Narrative Paradigm. 3. Key Concepts, blog by Military Veterangamer, IGN. IGN. Archived from the original on the 19th of January, 2014. Retrieved the 10th of October, 2017. 3. The Narrative Paradigm. Communication Theory. Retrieved the 10th of October, 2017. 4. A.B. Fisher, Walter R. March, 1984. Narration as a Human Communication Paradigm, the Case of Public Moral Argument. Communication Monographs. 51, 1-122. Do. 10.10008367758409390180. 5. A.B. Rowland, Robert C. September, 1988. The Value of the Rational World and Narrative. Paradigms. Central States Speech Journal. 39, 34204217 do. 10.1080/10510978809363250. 6. Fisher, Walter R. December, 1985. The Narrative Paradigm, an Elaboration. Communication Monographs. 52, 43473667 do. 10.1080/03637758509376117. 7. A.B. Clare, Robin P. Carlo, Stephanie, Lamb, Chervin, Nisman, John, Phillips, Koenig, Sanchez. Virginia, Schnabel, Elaine, Yakova, Lilia, 2 January 2014. Narrative Theory and Criticism, an Overview. Toward Clusters and Empathy. Review of Communication. 14, 1-118. Do. 10.1080/1535859.2014.9259660. ISSN 1535-8593. 8 AB Jameson 2001. 9 ABCD West, Richard L. Turner, Lynn H. December 2013. Introducing Communication Theory. Analysis and Application. McGraw-Hill Education. ISBN 978-0-07-132647-6. 10 Langelia, Kristen M. October 1989. Personal Narratives, Perspectives on Theory and Research. Text and Performance Quarterly. 9, 42432762, 10.1080/104629389093659338. 11 Luke Cates, John Louis, Condit, Celeste Michelle, Cordill, Sally, 1999. Contemporary Rhetorical Theory, a Reader. Guilford Press. p. 268. ISBN 978-1-57230-401-7. 12 AB Visual Storytelling and Narrative Structure, in Point. 13 Brown, Daniel S. 2013. Interfaith Dialogue, Listening to Communication Theory. Lanham, M.D. Lexington Books. ISBN 978-0739178706. OCLC 8305123995. 14 Dainton, Marianne, 2011. Applying Communication Theory for Professional Life, a Practical Introduction. Zelli, Elaine D. 2nd ed. Thousand Oaks, Cardiff, Sage Publications. ISBN 9781412976916. OCLC 4561702121. 15 Griffin 2009, p. Page needed. 16 Fisher, Walter R. 1987. Human Communication as Narration, Toward a Philosophy of Reason, Value, and Action. University of South Carolina Press. ISBN 978-0-87249-500-5. Page needed. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 17 Griffin 2009, p. 305. 18 Bussell, Rick, Bylanzik, Helena, May 2008. Fictionality and Perceived Realism in Experiencing Stories, a Model of Narrative Comprehension and Engagement. Communication Theory. 18, 2. 255280. Do. 10.1411/J.1485.2008.00322.x. 19 AB Deslandes, Jeannie, 2004. A Philosophy of Emoting. Journal of Narrative Theory. 34, 3335. 372 do. 10.1353/JNT.2005.0003. S2 SID 1613838803. 20 Spector-Mersel, Gabriella, the 13th of October 2010. Narrative Research, Time for a Paradigm. Narrative. Inquiry 20 12042224 do 10.1075/ni.20.1.10 SPE 21 Holly, Carrier. Kolya, Julia, December 2009. Rethinking Texts, Narrative and the Construction of Qualitative Research. Educational Researcher 38, 968686 do 10.3112/0013189x09351979 JSTA 25592191 S2 SID 1430235112 22 McNamara, Richard I. 2014. How the Narrative Paradigm Affects Military Stories, Thesis. OCLC 1299345401. ProQuest 1554030823. 23 Stutz, Nancy B. Barker, Randolph T. November 1999. The Use of Narrative Paradigm Theory in Assessing Audience Value Conflict in Image Advertising. Management Communication Quarterly. 13. 22092444 do 10.1177/0893318999132002 S2 SID 14425724 24 Bush, Alan J. Bush, Victoria Davies, September 1994. The Narrative Paradigm as a Perspective for Improving Ethical Evaluations of Advertisements. Journal of Advertising. 23, 33141. Do 10.1084/0091337.1994.10673448. 25 Roberts, Kathleen Glenister, March 2004. Texturing the Narrative Paradigm, Folklore and Communication. Communication Quarterly. 52, 212914 do 10.1084/01463370409370186. S2 SID 14522417. 26 Hobart, Melissa, April 2013. My best friend's brother's cousin knew this guy who hoaxes, legends, warnings, and Fisher's Narrative Paradigm. Communication Teacher. 27, 1993. Do 10.1084/1740622.2013.770155. S2 SID 1440955515. 27 Ramsey, Matthew C. Vinett, Stephen J. Rabale, Nicole, the 22nd of April 2011. The Perceived Paranormal and Source Credibility, the Effects of Narrative Suggestions on Paranormal Belief. Atlantic Journal of Communication. 19, 27996 do 10.1084/1545687.2011.561153. ISSN 1545-6870. 28 Barker, Randolph T. Gower, Kim, 1 July 2010. Strategic Application of Storytelling in Organizations Toward Effective Communication in a Diverse World. Journal of Business Communication. 47, 3295. 312 do 10.1177/0021943610369782. S2 SID 1455421998. 29 Carat, Smith, 1989, full citation needed. 30 Carat Chen, Meng, Bell, Robert A. Taylor, Laramie D. 2nd of August, 2016. Narrator point of view and persuasion in health narratives, the role of protagonist-reader similarity, identification, and self-referencing. Journal of Health Communication. 21, 8908918. Do. 10.1080/10810730.2016.1177147. PMID 2741100. S2 SID 29401259. 31 Carat Edson Escalas, Jennifer, January 2004. Narrative Processing, Building Consumer Connections to Brands. Journal of Consumer Psychology. 14, 12168180. Do. 10.1007/S153276663 JCP 1401 and 2_19. 32 Carat Stutz, Nancy B. Barker, Randolph T. November 1999. The Use of Narrative Paradigm Theory in Assessing Audience Value Conflict in Image Advertising. Management Communication Quarterly. 13. 22092444 Do. 10.1177/0893318999132002. S2 SID 1442572443. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. 33 Carat Herskovitz, Stephen, Crystal, Malcolm, 4 May 2010. The Essential Brand Persona, Storytelling and Branding. Journal of Business Strategy. 31, 32128 Do. 10.1128/02756661011036673. 34 Carat AB Rideout, Christopher, 2015. Applied Legal Storytelling, a Bibliography. Legal Communication and Rhetoric. 12, 247. SSRN 2680493. 35 Carat Chestek, Kenneth, 29th of July 2010. Judging by the Numbers, an Empirical Study of the Power of Story. Faculty Articles. 7. SSRN 1649869. 36 Carat Robbins, Ruth Ann, Foley, Brian J. Winter 2001. Fiction 101, a primer for lawyers on how to use fiction writing techniques to write persuasive facts sections. Rutgers Law Journal. 32, 2459483. Do. 10.7282/000000091. SSRN 931451. 37 Carat Page, Catherine, Winter 2011. Come a little closer so that I can see you, my pretty. The use and limits of fiction techniques for establishing an empathetic point of view in appellate briefs. UMKC. Law Review. 80, 399. SSRN 20456330. 38 Snedon, Karen, 2013. The Will as Personal Narrative. Elder Law Journal. 20, 355. SSRN 2354609. 39 Johnston, Jane, Briett, Rhonda, November 2010. Towards a Narratology of Court Reporting. Media. International Australia. 137, 147-57 do. 10.11329878x1013700106. ISSN 1329-878X. 40 Rowland 1989. 41 Kirkwood, William G. March 1992. Narrative and the Rhetoric of Possibility. Communication. Monographs. 59, 130-47 do. 10.1080/03637759209376247. 42 Stroud, Scott R. September 2002. Multivalent Narratives, Extending the Narrative Paradigm with Insights from Ancient Indian Philosophical Texts. Western Journal of Communication. 66, 3369393. do. 10.1080/105703102093747442. S2 SID 144036693. 43 Rowland 1989, p39. 44 Hardy, Joy, 2012. Narrative Theory versus Truth, a Post-Structuralist Reading in Environmental Education. The International Journal of Interdisciplinary Social Sciences, Annual Review. 6, 8167. 174 do. 10.1844/1833-1882/CGP/V06I08/52135. 45 Mayer, Michel, the 11th of September 2012. Aristotle's Rhetoric. Topoi. 32, 2249252 do. 10.1007/S11245-012. 9132-0. S2 SID 170866138. 46 Glenberg, Mayer and Lindum 1987. 47 Zwan, Rolf. February 1999. Situation Models, The Mental Leap into Imagined Worlds. Current Directions in Psychological Science. 8, 11518. Site CX 10.1.1.65.2232. do. 10.1111/1467. 8721.00004. JSTA 20182546. S2 SID 146191927. 48 Zwan, Rolf. February 1999. Situation Models, The Mental Leap into Imagined Worlds. Current Directions in Psychological Science. 8, 11518 do. 10.1418-1467-8721.00004. JSTA 20182546. S2 SID 146191927. 49 Keefe, D.E., McDaniel, M.A. 1993. The Time Course and Durability of Predictive Inferences. Journal of Memory and Language. 32, 4446463 do, 10.1006/chmla.1993.1024. Sources, edit. Anderson, Rob and Ross, Veronica. 2001. Questions of Communication, A Practical Introduction to Theory, 3rd ed. New York, Bedford/Street Martins Press. ISBN 0-312-25080-0. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. Barker, R.T. Gower, K. 2009. Use of Uncertainty Reduction and Narrative Paradigm Theories in Management Consulting and Teaching, Lessons Learned. Business Communication. Quarterly. 72, 3338341 do, 10.101177/1080569909340627. S2 SID 16812222062. Belanger, I. Garcia, F. Victoria, J.S. 2013. Ethos, Pathos and Logos in Facebook. User Networking, New Writer of the 21st Century. Communica. 21, 41-12735. Do. 10.3913/C41-2013-12. HDL 10272/7031. Cragen, John F., and Shields, Donald C. 1997. Understanding Communication Theory, The Communicative Forces for Human Action. Boston, Ma, Allen and Bacon. ISBN 0-205-19587-3. Fisher, Walter R. 1984. Narration as Human Communication Paradigm, The Case of Public Moral Argument. Communication Monographs. 51, 122. Do. 10.1080/03637758409390180. Fisher, Walter R. 1985. The Narrative Paradigm, in the Beginning. Journal of Communication. 35, 47489 do. 10.1460-2460.1985.tb02974.x. Fisher, Walter R. 1988. The Narrative Paradigm and the Assessment of Historical Texts. Argumentation and Advocacy. 25, 24953 do. 10.1080/0002853.1988.11951383. Fisher, Walter R. 1989. Clarifying the Narrative Paradigm. Communication Monographs. 56, 5558. Do. 10.1080/03637758909390249. Fisher, Walter R. 1994. Narrative Rationality and the Logic of Scientific Discourse. Argumentation. 8, 2132. Do. 10.1007/BF007107001. S2 SID 144080224. Fisher, Walter R. 1995. Narration, Knowledge, and the Possibility of Wisdom in Rethinking. Knowledge, Reflections Across the Disciplines, Sunny Series in the Philosophy of the Social Sciences. Fisher and Robert F. Goodman as editors. New York, State University of New York Press. Francis, Kimberly, 2015. Her, Historiography, Pierre Bourdieu, Cultural Capital, and Changing the Narrative Paradigm. Women and Music. 19, 169177210 do. 10.1353/wam.2015.0010. S2 SID 143333501. Glenberg, Arthur M., Meyer, Marion, Lindum, Karen, February 1987. Mental models contribute to foregrounding during text comprehension. Journal of Memory and Language. 26, 16983. Do. 10.1016/0749-596x, 87, 90063-5. Griffin, M., 2009. A First Look at Communication Theory. McGraw-Hill Higher Education. ISBN 978-0-07-127053-3. Jameson, Daphne. The 1st of October, 2001. Narrative Discourse and Management Action. Journal of Business Communication. 38, 4476511 do. 10.1011/0021943601038004004. S2 SID 145215100. Kahneman, Daniel, Paul Slovic, and Amos Tversky, eds. Judgment Under Uncertainty, Heuristics and Biases. New York, Cambridge University Press, 1982. Rowland, Robert C. March, 1989. On Limiting the Narrative Paradigm, 3 Case Studies. Communication Monographs. 56, 13954 do. 10.1016/03637758909390248. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF. The Kirsten, the 24th of April, 2008. Shoot, I'm sorry, an examination of narrative functions and effectiveness within Dick Cheney's hunting accident apologia. Southern Communication Journal. 73, 216177 do. 10.1080/104179408020095666. S2 SID 144037258. Warnick, Barbara, May 1987. The Narrative Paradigm, Another Story. Quarterly Journal of Speech. 73, 217218 do. 10.108335638709383801. Category, Narratology. Explore our developer-friendly HTML to PDF API printed using PDF Crowd HTML to PDF.